When she hugs you first, she's sending a message. Most men miss this sign. Psychology tricks. The greatest thing you'll ever learn is just to love and be loved in return. And that's exactly why this moment matters more than most men realize. When a woman hugs you first, your body feels it before your logic catches up. And if you wave it off as she's just being friendly, you can miss a message that was never meant for the crowd, only for you. A hug isn't just arms touching. It's a choice with a temperature, a rhythm, a purpose. It's timing. It's intent dressed up as softness. And when she initiates it, something has already shifted inside her because she didn't wait for you to lead, didn't stand back and play it safe, didn't hide behind words. Most men are trained to hunt for loud signals, teasing, flirting, obvious compliments, clear I like you energy. But female psychology often moves like water, not like arrows. Before desire gets expressed, safety gets checked. So that first hug she starts can be a quiet test of emotional safety. How do you receive closeness? Do you stiffen like you're under inspection? Do you pull away like you're afraid it means something? Do you try to control the moment to prove something? Or can you stay calm, grounded, and present, like a man who's comfortable with warmth without turning it into a performance? Because here's what many men miss. Safety isn't politeness. Safety is nervous system peace. Her body decided before her mouth did, and in that second, she crossed a boundary first because she felt safe enough with you to do it, at least in that moment. And that is the real sign. Not she hugged me, but she trusted me with closeness first. 1. The hug as observation, not affection. Here's the truth most men never hear, and it matters more than you think. When she hugs you first, that moment is not just about warmth or politeness. It is a live reading of who you are under pressure, and if you miss it, you miss the message entirely. The hug is observation, not affection, and if you understand female psychology at a deeper level, you'll see that she is quietly testing how you handle power without words, how you manage closeness without taking, and how grounded you are when nothing is being said. Don't rush. Don't squeeze harder. Don't turn it into something it isn't. Be still. Be present. That is the first test. When she initiates the hug, she is paying attention to your breathing, your posture, your restraint, because psychology tricks at this level are never loud or dramatic. They live in silence. She wants to feel whether you remain calm or whether your body gives away hunger, tension, or impatience. That is not random. That is female psychology working exactly as designed. A hug compresses space, removes distance, and creates a temporary exchange of emotional energy, and how you respond tells her whether being close to you feels safe, steady, or unsettling. If you immediately pull her tighter, you communicate need. If you freeze stiffly, you communicate discomfort. But if you match her pressure exactly, if you allow the connection without trying to control it, you communicate emotional intelligence. That is how to fall in love without forcing it. Pay attention to timing. If her hug lingers just 1 second longer than expected, do not dismiss it. Time extension is one of the oldest nonverbal psychology tricks in human connection. She is checking whether staying feels better than leaving, whether your presence creates calm or pressure. Don't comment on it. Don't smile too much. Don't break the moment. Let it exist. Be composed. That is strength. If her arms are firm instead of loose, she is signaling presence, not politeness. That means she chose to be there. That matters. If she relaxes into your chest, even briefly, she is letting go of control for a moment, and people only do that when trust is already forming. But you must not mistake trust for entitlement. A hug is not a promise. It is not a contract. It is an invitation to show who you are when nothing is demanded of you. Most men fail right here because they romanticize instead of regulating themselves. They imagine outcomes instead of reading reality. Don't do that. Be disciplined. Be grounded. That is how you stand out without trying. In female psychology, quiet moments carry more weight than dramatic gestures, and a hug is one of the quietest moments with the most information packed inside it. She is observing how you manage closeness, how you respect boundaries that were never spoken, how you respond when you are given access instead of asking for it. This is where psychology tricks stop being manipulation and start being awareness. You are not performing, you are revealing. And what you reveal should be calm, centered, and self contained. If you understand how to fall in love in a healthy way, you know that attraction grows when a woman feels free inside the connection, not trapped by it. That freedom comes from your restraint. That is why doing less often communicates more. When the hug ends, do not chase the moment verbally. Do not ask, "Was that okay?" Don't joke it away. Don't turn it into a confession. Let the silence after the hug do its work. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is processing. Women process emotionally in layers, and female psychology relies heavily on internal reflection after subtle moments. If you handled the hug well, she will replay it later. She will remember how steady you felt, how unforced the connection was, how you didn't try to extract meaning from it. That is how to fall in love without pressure. Understand this clearly. A hug initiated by her is a signal, but it is also a mirror. It reflects your internal state back to her. If you are calm, she feels calm. If you are grounded, she feels safe. If you are needy, she feels tension. Psychology tricks don't work if they are fake. They only work when they align with who you actually are. That is why the most powerful response is authenticity with control. Be aware. Be respectful. Be emotionally regulated. You must understand that attraction is not built by taking advantage of moments, but by honoring them. Don't escalate physically unless she clearly opens that door again. Don't attach meaning too fast. Don't downgrade yourself by acting impressed. That is not confidence. That is anxiety in disguise. Instead, let the hug be what it was, a quiet exchange of information. She reached out first. She initiated contact. That already tells you something. Your job is not to capitalize on it. Your job is to remain the same man before, during, and after the hug. Consistency creates trust, and trust is the foundation of how to fall in love in a way that lasts. When men learn to read these moments through female psychology instead of fantasy, everything changes. They stop chasing signals and start embodying stability. They stop guessing and start observing. That is real power. Not control over her, but control over yourself. And when you master that, even the simplest hug becomes a turning point she never forgets. 2. Containment, restraint, and power. Most men don't realize this, but the moment she hugs you first is one of the most revealing moments in early connection, and how you handle it quietly decides whether you rise in her eyes or slowly fade. This is where containment, restraint, and power show up without saying a word. Many men ruin this moment by trying to escalate, tease, or turn it into a joke, and that single impulse tells her something important. You can't sit inside intimacy without performing. Don't do that. Performance kills mystery fast. Be calm. Be grounded. That is the difference between a man she remembers and a man she mentally files away. A high-value man understands that real presence doesn't need decoration. When you joke, exaggerate, or rush to add meaning, you leak nervous energy. And women feel that immediately. Masculine energy is quiet here. It's controlled. It doesn't reach. It allows. The men who truly stand out are the ones who understand containment. Containment means you don't squeeze. You don't pull her closer. You don't trap the moment because you're afraid it might not happen again. You simply match her energy and let the moment end naturally. That restraint signals confidence, not disinterest. It tells her you don't chase signals. You understand them. You must realize this. A man who can sit comfortably in closeness without trying to take more is rare. And rarity is what attracts women. When you mirror her pressure, her timing, her stillness, you communicate safety and self-control at the same time. That combination is powerful. That combination is masculine energy in its most refined form. When she hugs you first, she's not saying, "I want you." Don't misread it. She's saying, "I'm watching who you are." She is observing how you handle access. She is measuring whether you rush when the door opens or whether you remain centered. And when closeness appears unexpectedly, whether you realize it or not, your response writes a story in her mind that words never could. Stories matter more than statements. If your body stays relaxed, if your breathing stays slow, if your hands don't grab or hesitate awkwardly, the story says you are secure. That is how a high value man communicates without trying. Many men think attraction is built by doing more. That's the mistake. Attraction is often built by not doing what lesser men would do. Don't escalate just because you can. Don't test boundaries just to see if they're flexible. Be disciplined. Be intentional. That discipline is what allows you to attract women without chasing them. Masculine energy is not urgency. It is patience with direction. And women feel drawn to men who can hold a moment instead of consuming it. Here's what most men miss. If you rush to label the hug, you shrink its impact. If you tease her about it, you lower the emotional temperature. If you turn it into a joke, you signal discomfort. Don't do any of that. Let silence work. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is space. And space is where curiosity grows. When the hug ends naturally and you don't react impulsively, her mind keeps working after you're gone. That's how attraction deepens. That's how you attract women who are emotionally aware instead of emotionally reactive. You must also understand that restraint is not passive. It is active self-command. It takes strength to not move when instinct says, take more. That strength registers instantly. It separates you from men who live in reaction mode. A high-value man doesn't need to prove he's comfortable with intimacy. He shows it by how little he changes when intimacy appears. That consistency feels grounding to her. And grounding is attractive. Masculine energy shows up most clearly when nothing dramatic is happening. Anyone can act confident during big moments. Very few men remain composed during subtle ones. A hug is subtle. That's why it matters. If you treat it like a prize, you downgrade yourself. If you treat it like information, you upgrade yourself. Be observant. Be steady. That is power. Don't assume the hug means momentum. Don't assume it means romance. Don't assume it means the next step is physical. Assumptions make men sloppy. Clarity makes men magnetic. Let her be the one to feel the shift internally. Let her wonder why you didn't rush. Let her notice that you didn't need reassurance. That quiet contrast is what makes her replay the moment later. Men who attract women consistently understand one principle. The fastest way to lose intrigue is to show you're impressed too early. A high-value man enjoys the moment, but he doesn't inflate it. He doesn't collapse into it either. He remains the same man before, during, and after. That steadiness is rare, and rarity creates value. So don't squeeze. Don't perform. Don't rush meaning into the moment. Be present. Be contained. Be relaxed. That is how you communicate confidence without saying a word. That is how masculine energy speaks. And that is how a simple hug becomes a moment she can't quite forget, not because you did more, but because you knew exactly when to stop. If this hit home, don't just nod and move on. Act on it. Like this video, subscribe for more grounded, no-nonsense insight, and stay sharp. And if you really understand this message, drop a comment right now with this line to lock it in. I don't chase moments. I can tame them. Remember this every time. Restraint isn't distance. It's power. 3. Her past and the nervous system test. Most men are never told this, but when a woman hugs you first, it is rarely just a casual gesture or a reflex of attraction. It is a signal sent straight from her nervous system, shaped by her past and filtered through instinct, and if you miss it, you miss the message entirely. Here is the deeper truth you were never taught. A woman's first hug is not only about you. It is about history. Every woman carries quiet memories of moments when closeness felt confusing, unsafe, rushed, or overwhelming, even if she never speaks of them, and those memories live in her body more than in her words. So when she initiates physical contact, she is not testing your strength or your charm. She is testing your regulation. She is asking, without speaking, whether this moment will repeat an old wound or create a new experience, and the test happens in seconds. Your hands, your posture, your breathing, your stillness. This is why Old Stoic wisdom matters more than modern dating noise. The body always reveals the truth before the mouth does. A rushed grip signals hunger. A stiff body signals fear. A calm, grounded presence signals safety. And safety is not weakness. It is power under control. As Marcus Aurelius taught, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury, and in modern terms, that means you do not react from impulse or from past wounds of your own. You hold your center. Women do not experience attraction only in the present moment. They predict the future from the present sensation. When she hugs you, her nervous system is asking one question: if I let this man closer later, will I feel protected or pressured? That question is answered not by what you say, not by how confident you sound, but by how well you regulate yourself in silence. Many men believe confidence means taking control, escalating, tightening the hug, or leading aggressively. That belief is outdated and costly. In female psychology, true confidence is self-regulation. It is the iron mind that remains calm when closeness appears. It is the man who does not grasp, does not freeze, does not perform. He allows. He receives. He stays present. This is Stoicism when in action, not as philosophy on a page, but as embodied behavior in real life. When you stay grounded, you give her nervous system something it rarely encounters: calm masculinity without demand. And that contrast is powerful. It tells her, this man is not driven by need. This man is not overwhelmed by intimacy. This man can be trusted with closeness. That message lands deeper than attraction. It lands as relief. Modern life has trained men to rush everything: messages, emotions, touch, results. But relationships do not reward speed. They reward steadiness. When she hugs you first, your task is not to impress. It is to remain. Remain slow. Remain relaxed. Remain open without leaning. That is instruction, not suggestion. As Epictetus said, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Decide first that you're a regulated man, then let your body follow that decision. If you tense, she feels it. If you rush, she feels it. If you soften while staying upright and still, she feels that too. And what she feels, she remembers. Most men miss this sign because they are focused on outcome. Will she like me? Will this lead somewhere? Should I escalate? That mental noise leaks into the body. And the body never lies. A man with an iron mind understands that the moment is already the answer. There is no need to force clarity. Clarity arrives naturally when safety is established. This is where Old Stoic wisdom meets modern relationships. Control what is yours: your posture, your breath, your pace. Let go of what is not: her reaction, her timing, her past. When you do this, you do not just pass the nervous system test, you redefine the experience for her. You become the exception to old patterns. You become the calm memory instead of the chaotic one. And this is not about manipulation or tricks. It is about mastery. Mastery of self creates trust. Trust creates attraction. Attraction deepens connection. Repeat this idea until it is burned into you. Her first hug is a test, not of strength, not of dominance, of regulation, of presence, of restraint. If you can hold yourself steady in that moment, you're already ahead of most men, because most men are still trying to prove something. You do not prove. You embody. You let your nervous system speak before your mouth ever does. This is Stoicism when lived daily. This is the iron mind applied to intimacy. And if you carry this discipline into modern life, into stress, into conflict, into love, you stop reacting and start choosing. You stop chasing and start attracting. You stop guessing and start knowing. Victory is not loud. It is calm. Victory is not rushed. It is grounded. Remember that the next time she hugs you first, stay still, stay open, stay regulated. That moment is telling you everything. 4. Silence, aftermath, and emotional regulation. Silence, aftermath, and emotional regulation are not soft concepts. They are the quiet tests most men fail without realizing it. And this is where psychology tricks and female psychology quietly reveal themselves. Because the man who can remain grounded while being touched is rare, genuinely rare. And when a woman hugs you first, she is not just expressing warmth. She is observing, reading, and feeling for signals beneath the surface. and your body answers before your mouth ever could. Because if your body stiffens, even slightly, she senses emotional guardedness. Not in a dramatic way, not as a conscious judgment, but as a subtle signal that you are bracing rather than receiving. And if your grip tightens or your arms close in too firmly, she doesn't interpret it as passion. She reads hunger, urgency, or insecurity. And this matters more than most men want to admit. Because female psychology is less about what is done and more about how it is felt. And if you rush to speak afterward, filling the space with jokes, explanations, or commentary, she senses discomfort with silence, which tells her your nervous system is unsettled. And don't underestimate this moment, because the hug itself is not the message. The aftermath is. And silence, by the way, is where trust grows. Not the awkward silence of avoidance, but the calm pause of someone who doesn't need to prove, perform, or manage the moment. And after a hug, the pause matters more than the contact itself. Because if you don't rush to fill the space with nervous talk, you signal emotional steadiness. And that steadiness communicates safety, confidence, and presence. Not through words, but through regulation. And her nervous system reads that as strength. Not because of romance or fantasy, but because biology responds to calm, grounded signals. And this is biology, not romance. Which is why psychology tricks that focus on lines, tactics, or clever moves miss the real point. Because the real message is carried in your body, your breathing, your posture, your stillness. And you must understand this clearly. When she initiates a hug, she is briefly stepping into your emotional space. And what she is asking, without words, is simple. Can I relax here? And don't rush to answer with behavior that seeks approval. Don't overhold. Don't overtalk. Don't pull away too fast either. Be present. Be calm. Be unhurried. Because emotional regulation is felt instantly. And most men miss this sign because they think attraction is built in escalation, when in reality, attraction often deepens in restraint. And this is where how to fall in love quietly begins. Not through intensity, but through safety and steadiness. Because a man who is comfortable with silence after connection shows he is not overwhelmed by closeness. And that matters deeply in female psychology, since her body is constantly scanning for whether closeness leads to chaos or calm. And you must recognize that when she hugs you first, she is testing how you handle intimacy, without words, without control, without direction. And psychology tricks that focus only on action miss the internal state that creates the action. Because if you are grounded, you don't need to think about what to do next. Your stillness does the work. And don't mistake this for passivity. This is active self-command. This is choosing not to leak energy, not to rush connection, not to fill space out of habit. And when you allow a quiet moment to exist after physical closeness, you give her nervous system time to register comfort. And comfort is what allows curiosity. And curiosity is what opens the door to how to fall in love naturally, without pressure, without pursuit, without forcing outcomes. And psychology tricks are only effective when they align with biology, not when they fight it. So don't perform confidence. Regulate yourself into it. Don't chase validation. Allow connection to breathe. Don't confuse silence with weakness. Because calm silence is clarity, and clarity is attractive. And when you understand this, you stop trying to do something after the hug, and instead you simply remain grounded, present, unbothered. And that presence communicates more than words ever could. Because in female psychology, the man who can stay centered after intimacy is the man who feels safe to move closer to, and that is the message most men miss. Not because it is complicated, but because it is quiet. If this message hit home, don't just watch and move on. Pause. Reflect. This is the kind of awareness that separates reaction from self-command. Like the video, share it with a man who needs to hear this, and subscribe for more grounded wisdom on connection and attraction. Comment to remember, the pause after the hug reveals your strength more than the hug itself. 5. Context and meaning of the hug. Context and meaning are everything when a woman hugs you first, and this is where most men completely miss the signal. not because they are careless, but because they rush to interpret the gesture emotionally instead of situationally. And you must slow this down if you want to grow as a high value man who truly understands how to attract women through awareness rather than effort. Another detail men overlook is context. That is the frame. Did she hug you after sharing something personal? That is not a casual moment. That is a bonding hug. She is not just touching you. She is checking whether you can hold emotional weight without trying to control the moment. Don't jump into advice. Don't try to fix. Be present. Be steady. When a woman opens up and then initiates a hug, she is offering trust and watching what you do with it, and men who respond with calm presence instead of solutions are remembered. While men who rush to solve quietly signal that they are uncomfortable sitting with emotion, and those men are slowly removed from the emotional circle without explanation. That is not punishment. That is female psychology at work, filtering for safety, regulation, and masculine energy that feels grounded rather than reactive. Now consider a different context. Did she hug you when arriving or leaving? That is often a boundary-setting hug. It establishes familiarity without verbal commitment. Many men misunderstand this and immediately escalate in tone, touch, or expectation. Don't do that. Don't assume. Be aware. A greeting or a goodbye hug can simply say, "I'm comfortable with you in this space." Nothing more. Nothing less. A high-value man reads the moment instead of projecting meaning onto it. He understands that attraction grows when pressure stays low and presence stays high. That is how to attract women over time, not through urgency, but through consistency. Masculine energy shows up here as restraint. Calm body language, relaxed posture, no grasping, no pulling, just grounded acknowledgement. That restraint is felt, and it is respected. Then there is the hug that happens in front of others. That is social signaling. Women are acutely aware of how gestures look, not just how they feel, and when she hugs you publicly, she is communicating something to the environment as much as to you. It may say comfort. It may say familiarity. It may say alignment. But it is never accidental. Don't overreact. Don't perform. Be natural. Be centered. Your response tells her whether you understand social awareness or whether you get lost inside the moment. A high-value man understands that being seen is part of attraction, and he handles it with ease. That ease is masculine energy in action. It doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't need approval. What matters across all these scenarios is not the hug itself, but how you carry yourself during and after it. Don't rush the moment. Don't tighten your body. Don't fill the space with talk. Be still. Be relaxed. That is not indifference. That is emotional regulation. And emotional regulation is one of the most attractive traits in female psychology because it signals stability without words. This is one of those psychology tricks that is not really a trick at all. It is alignment with biology. When your nervous system stays calm, hers feels safer. When hers feels safer, connection deepens naturally. That is how to fall in love without forcing it. You must also understand that many men confuse action with leadership. They think doing more creates attraction. It doesn't. Presence does. A man who can sit in silence after a meaningful hug shows he is not overwhelmed by closeness. He doesn't need to steer the moment. He allows it to exist. That allowance is powerful. It tells her you are not dependent on outcome. And that is one of the clearest signals of a high-value man. He is not chasing connection. He is allowing it to unfold. Don't mistake this awareness for passivity. This is active self-command. This is choosing how to respond rather than reacting automatically. Masculine energy lives here. In the pause. In the breath. In the grounded stance that says, "I am comfortable right here." That comfort is what helps attract women who are emotionally mature and ready for depth. And depth is where real connection lives. Psychology tricks often focus on what to say next. That is the wrong focus. Focus on how you are being. Focus on your internal state. Because when she hugs you first, she is not asking for words. She is asking a question without speaking. Can I trust your presence? Your body answers before your mouth ever does. That is female psychology at its most honest. And when you learn to read context instead of reacting emotionally, you stop missing these signs. You stop overinterpreting. You stop forcing meaning. And that clarity changes everything. So don't rush. Don't assume. Don't perform. Be aware. Be grounded. Be steady. That is how a high value man moves. That is how masculine energy is felt. And that is how to attract women who respond not to pressure, but to presence. 6. Ambiguity, freedom, and attraction. Ambiguity, freedom, and attraction are not enemies of connection. They are the soil where real connection grows. And here is a hard truth most men learn too late in life. When a woman hugs you first, it is not always a declaration of desire. Sometimes it is an evaluation of possibility. And that distinction matters more than anything you do afterward. Because many women initiate physical closeness not to promise attraction, but to observe how you handle it, how you carry yourself in proximity, how your presence responds to warmth without grabbing for certainty. And this is not manipulation. It is discernment. It is data collection. It is her quietly asking herself whether attraction could grow safely here. And as Marcus Aurelius wrote, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. Which means the moment you attach meaning, demand explanation, or seek reassurance, you reveal your internal state. And women feel that immediately, especially in modern life where emotional pressure is everywhere. Because attraction does not deepen under interrogation. It deepens under freedom. And the fastest way to dissolve the magic of a spontaneous hug is to chase clarity too soon. To ask, what did that mean? Or to replay the moment as if it were a contract that must now be honored. Because the hug was not an agreement. It was a moment. And moments lose their power when you try to own them. And this is where Old Stoic wisdom becomes practical instruction rather than philosophy. Because Stoicism win is not about emotional coldness. It is about emotional sovereignty. About standing so firmly within yourself that closeness does not destabilize you. And Seneca warned, he who is brave is free. And freedom is exactly what attraction responds to, because women sense fear of ambiguity instantly. And fear always seeks certainty. Labels, timelines, verbal confirmation, while confidence allows space. And space allows desire to breathe. So the most powerful response when she hugs you first is not excitement masked as restraint, not silence fueled by strategy, but grounded warmth without expectation. You return the hug naturally. You stay present. You do not analyze it later. You do not bring it up. You do not try to convert it into proof. You let it exist exactly as it was. A shared human moment. Because that communicates abundance, emotional maturity, and an iron mind that does not need to extract meaning from every signal to feel secure. And in a world addicted to instant clarity, this calm restraint is rare. And rarity is attractive, especially to women who are testing whether a man can hold emotional space without collapsing into neediness or rushing toward definition. And this is where modern men often sabotage themselves, not because they lack value, but because they rush to resolve uncertainty. And Epictetus taught, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do, which means decide internally that you're a man who can stand inside uncertainty, who does not flinch at ambiguity, who does not treat affection as currency, and then behave accordingly. Because when you demand certainty too early, you signal fear of loss. And fear of loss kills attraction faster than silence ever could. While calm presence signals options, stability, and emotional safety. And emotional safety is the foundation of desire. Not pressure, not pursuit, not explanation. And this is not about pretending to be unbothered. It is about actually being unbothered because your sense of self does not depend on decoding every gesture. And that is iron mind in action. That is Stoicism when lived out in modern dating. Because when you allow a hug to be just a hug, you tell her without words that you are comfortable with connection without control, with closeness without ownership. And paradoxically, that freedom invites her to come closer on her own terms, because attraction is not pulled, it is invited. And Old Stoic wisdom reminds us that the man who masters himself never needs to chase validation. He allows life to reveal itself in its own time. And this mindset does not just improve dating, it sharpens your entire life, your work, your leadership, your relationships, because ambiguity is everywhere in modern life. And the man who can stand calmly inside it will always be ahead of the man who panics and demands answers. So treat her hug not as a sign to act, but as an opportunity to remain grounded, to demonstrate emotional strength through restraint, to show that your presence is steady, warm, and unforced. Because in the end, attraction grows where freedom exists. And freedom exists where an iron mind stands unmoved, confident, and complete. Exactly as Old Stoic wisdom has always taught. And exactly why Stoicism win is not about tactics, but about becoming the kind of man whose calm creates desire without effort. If you understand this, you're already playing a different game. Most men rush to define the moment and lose the attraction they were just invited into. Don't do that. Stay grounded. Let warmth exist without demanding meaning. That calm restraint is what separates emotional maturity from neediness. Backhand index pointing, I comment this below to lock it in and interact with the channel. I stay grounded, I allow ambiguity, and I let attraction grow naturally. 7. Masculine containment and consistency. When a woman hugs you first, slow down and understand what is really happening, because this moment is not a green light for action. It is a quiet test of presence, awareness, and emotional steadiness, and most men miss it completely. Don't assume the hug means escalation. Don't rush to interpret it as permission. Be still. That is the first lesson. When she initiates a hug, she is not asking you to do more. She is asking you to be more visible as the man you truly are. In those few silent seconds, your body language, your breathing, your inner state speak louder than any words, and this is where female psychology operates beneath the surface. Many men believe attraction lives in clever lines or confident moves, but attraction is stored in the body, not the mind. A woman will remember how safe, grounded, and calm she felt in your presence far longer than she will remember what you said. This is one of the most overlooked psychology tricks in modern dating. Most men confuse desire with possession. They think wanting more is attractive. It is not. A woman can feel instantly whether a hug feeds your ego or reflects your awareness. If she senses that the hug inflates you, excites you, or makes you feel entitled to more, her attraction quietly pulls back. Not because you did something wrong. Be clear about this. But because you revealed a need she never agreed to hold. Desire collapses the moment it feels like responsibility. You must understand this if you want to master female psychology and truly learn how to fall in love without losing yourself. Consistency is safety. Sudden intensity feels like pressure forming, and pressure suffocates desire every time. A man who understands this remains the same man before, during, and after the hug. Calm, centered, present, not clinging, not performative, not trying to lock something in. That consistency tells her, without words, that your emotional state does not depend on her actions. And that is deeply attractive. Be the man who can receive warmth without grabbing onto it. Be the man who can enjoy closeness without trying to own it. That is strength expressed quietly. Many men think restraint means suppressing desire, but restraint here means self-command. It means you are aware of your emotions, but not ruled by them. Don't lean in with your expectations. Don't tighten your grip. Don't change your tone or pace immediately after. Stay steady. That steadiness tells her that intimacy does not unbalance you. And when a woman feels that, her curiosity grows. She wonders why you didn't rush. She wonders why you didn't try to take more. She wonders what kind of man can stay grounded in closeness. This is how attraction deepens naturally. This is how female psychology responds to emotional leadership. And yes, this is one of the most subtle psychology tricks most men never learn because it requires inner discipline, not outward performance. If you want to understand how to fall in love in a way that builds connection instead of anxiety, start here. Learn to contain yourself. Learn to let moments breathe. Learn to trust that what is meant to grow does not need to be forced. A hug is information, not instruction. It tells you she feels safe enough to come close. Your job is not to turn that into a demand for more closeness. Your job is to honor it by remaining unchanged. Calm presence invites repetition. Emotional steadiness invites desire. And when a woman leans in again later, it will not be because you chased the moment, but because you allowed it to land without attachment. Remember this. Don't react. Be grounded. That is power expressed without words. That is understanding female psychology at a level most men never reach. That is how to fall in love without pressure, without games, and without losing yourself. 8. When a hug is a closing gesture. When a hug happens, especially when she initiates it, you must slow down and read the moment with maturity, because here is a truth most men are not prepared to face. Sometimes a hug is a closing gesture, not an opening one. And that reality alone separates a high-value man from someone who reacts emotionally. Because some women hug first, not to pull you closer, but to soften distance, to create a graceful ending instead of an awkward one, to say goodbye to an idea without ever putting it into words. And if you rush to interpret that hug as momentum, you misunderstand its function entirely. So don't chase it. Don't lean forward emotionally. Don't treat it like a signal you need to capitalize on. Because when you chase a closing gesture, you reverse its purpose and turn something gentle into something uncomfortable. While when you respect it, you leave with dignity intact. And dignity is attractive even when nothing else continues. Now listen carefully, because men who do well in dating are not the ones who decode every signal perfectly. They are the ones who don't collapse emotionally when a signal is ambiguous. And that is a critical distinction, because ambiguity is not a threat unless you make it one. And female psychology is deeply sensitive to how a man handles uncertainty. So if your mood rises or falls based on a single hug, you reveal emotional dependency without saying a word. And that quietly pushes attraction away, not out of cruelty, but out of instinct. Because attraction grows around emotional stability, not emotional volatility. So be calm, be grounded, be steady. That is masculine energy in its most reliable form. Now understand this layer of psychology tricks that most men miss. Not every affectionate gesture is meant to move the story forward. Some are meant to close a chapter gently. And when you misread that, you don't just lose the moment, you lose respect for yourself. And respect is the foundation on which attraction is built. So don't argue with reality. Don't try to override the moment with hope. Accept what is being offered and nothing more. Because acceptance is strength. And strength is felt, not announced. This is why a high-value man doesn't panic when something feels unclear. He doesn't rush to ask questions. He doesn't press for reassurance. He doesn't try to secure meaning. He allows the moment to exist without needing to control it. And that calm presence is exactly what allows him to attract women consistently over time. Now let's go deeper into female psychology. When a woman uses a hug as a closing gesture, she is often trying to leave the interaction on a warm note, not escalate it. She is protecting both her comfort and yours. And if you respond with urgency or pursuit, you quietly break that emotional contract, making the moment heavier than it was meant to be. So don't step forward emotionally when she is stepping back internally. That mismatch is where attraction fades. Be the man who can match the rhythm instead of forcing a new one. That is masculine energy expressed through restraint, not intensity. And restraint is often misunderstood as passivity when it is actually control. Now here is the part most psychology tricks never explain. A woman watches how you leave more closely than how you arrive. Because how you handle endings tells her how you will handle pressure, disappointment, and uncertainty. And if you can leave calmly, politely, and self-contained, you communicate emotional leadership without ever needing to prove anything. So don't linger unnecessarily. Don't try to reopen what is closing. Don't bargain with the moment. Let it end cleanly, because clean endings build quiet respect. And respect keeps doors open even when nothing happens immediately. This is why men who truly understand how to attract women don't cling to moments. They move through them with composure. They understand that not every interaction is meant to continue, but every interaction is a chance to demonstrate character. And character outlasts chemistry. Now be honest with yourself. If a hug feels like something you need to chase, that urge is not attraction. It is insecurity looking for relief. And insecurity never creates desire. So you must train yourself to pause instead of react, to breathe instead of pursue, to observe instead of assume. That is how a high value man operates in ambiguous situations. He does not personalize uncertainty. He does not turn a single gesture into a verdict about his worth. He understands that attraction is fluid, and that fluidity requires emotional steadiness to navigate. Now, here is a powerful reframe that changes everything. When a hug is a closing gesture, your job is not to reopen the door. Your job is to walk away with your self respect intact, because self respect is felt long after the moment ends. And many women revisit interactions later not because of what a man did, but because of how calm and grounded he was when things didn't go his way. That calm leaves an impression. It signals maturity. It signals emotional depth. And it signals masculine energy that does not need validation. And that is rare, which is why it attracts women naturally. So don't treat dating like a puzzle you must solve in real time. Treat it like a process that rewards consistency. Because consistency is safety. And safety is where attraction grows. This is one of those psychology tricks that sounds simple but requires discipline. Because it asks you to let go of control, to trust your presence instead of your effort, and to accept that sometimes the most powerful move is doing less, not more. So be clear, be steady, be respectful, and be self-contained. Because when you can receive a closing gesture without resistance, you demonstrate emotional mastery. And emotional mastery is what separates men who chase moments from men who create lasting attraction. And if you truly want to attract women in a way that feels natural and sustainable, you must learn to value your internal state more than external signals. Because signals change, moods change, circumstances change. But a man who stays centered through all of it becomes memorable without trying. And that is the quiet advantage of the high-value man. Not because he dominates the moment, but because he respects it. Not because he pushes forward, but because he knows when to let go. And that understanding, rooted deeply in female psychology and expressed through calm masculine energy, is what keeps attraction alive long after the hug is over. All right, my friend, before we wrap this up, let me leave you with something grounded and real. Here's the truth most men miss. When she hugs you first, the test is not about her. It's about you. Stay calm. Stay present. Don't rush to label the moment. Don't grab for meaning. Be the man who can stand comfortably inside intimacy without needing it to prove anything. That calm, steady energy is what lingers in her mind long after the hug ends. If you feel the urge to act fast, to escalate, to lock it in, pause. Breathe. Let the moment breathe too. That is how attraction grows naturally, without force. Now I want to hear from you. Think back to the last time a woman initiated closeness with you. Were you calm, or did you feel pressure to do something right away? Comment below and complete this honestly. What adds to my reaction in terms of intuition? If this gave you a new level of clarity, do yourself a favor. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this with a friend who needs to understand female psychology on a deeper, calmer level. I'll see you in the next one. Stay steady,